Welcome to GreenBiz Studio. I'm Katie Fehrenbacher, Senior Writer and Analyst covering transportation for GreenBiz, and I'm speaking with Pasquale Romano. He's the CEO of ChargePoint. Hi, Pasquale.
Hi, Katie.
So ChargePoint is at a really interesting place right now in its growth, planning to go public via the SPAC, the Special Purpose Acquisition Company. What's the strategy behind that? How is ChargePoint addressing this, and what's the plan?
So we've been eyeing the appropriate time to go public, for a while now. Had targeted anywhere, pre-pandemic, we were targeting approximately 0 to 2 years whenever it looked like the timing was right with respect to the public markets. And we got this opportunity largely to go public through the SPAC process, and did quite a bit of research and understood that for us it was actually a very good fit. It's a well-established company, as you mentioned. It's been around for 13 years. I've been there for almost 10, and it seems time just flies. And we have over 4,000 customers. I've been in revenue for a very long time, and it's a mature company. So this SPAC process gave us the ability to have conversations in a more detailed manner with the PIPE investors and the investors in the SPAC, so we could really tell our story and get access. We felt early to the public company capital we would get access to if we had went the normal route slightly later. But given that was available to us now, it was best to fully fund the business plan of the company and then some, and kind of put that chapter behind us, make this transition to a public company. And I think the timing's very good. If you're very close to this industry, you see the announcements literally daily now with new makes and models coming onto the market.
Yeah. Where is ChargePoint seeing growth this year? What types of organizations are moving into the fold of embracing electrification?
In March, when all the stay-at-home orders went into effect, it pressure tested the company. Everything is theoretical until it's upon you. And everything from your business continuity systems to your business model. What had been theoretical for us, which is we expected that in a situation where there was a dramatic sea change in transportation, meaning in the pandemic sense, people are not moving around as much to go to work or to go out because of the travel restrictions. We had always said that if we were in every segment of EV charging, and also in the US and in Europe, what we could insulate the company from dramatic changes in revenue, because the shift in transportation would just shift the emphasis as to where the demand was for charging, and that would come through. Well, lo and behold, it did. And it's nice to know that reality matches theory with respect to being in every segment. And so what we have found is that because of goods delivery being so critical now, even more so than it has been, it was even pre-pandemic, on a pretty good growth tear. The fleet market for us is really seeing lots of activity. Virtually every single company out there that has anything from small vans or normal passenger cars all the way up through larger medium and heavy duty vehicles, we're just seeing a tremendous amount of interest and activity in that segment. And I think it's just because it is so effective in reducing the cost structure of those services, right? Because the car, Katie, that you and I own is 4% utilized if we drive like an average American would. A fleet vehicle has much more utilization, and also over its life goes a lot more miles than our cars do. So the cost of the platform relative to its platform life is favorable. The maintenance profile is favorable. and obviously the fueling profile is favorable. So it really heats that segment up, where people are staying home more. So obviously, home charging and apartment and condominium charging is becoming more and more critical. And then what you see is that there's a lot of construction, believe it or not, that's happening, because if buildings are unoccupied during the scenario that we're all in the world, or if they're lightly occupied, not all, but a lot of landlords are viewing it as a good time to make improvements. So anything associated with construction is actually doing well as well. So it's funny how some things, tamp down, obviously due to utilization pressure not being there, but in others it comes back. It's just it's amazing when the theory matches.
Yeah, interesting. And ChargePoint's been around, you said 13 years. Where are we today in 2020 in terms of the maturation of the EV market? Are we still in the early days of this, or are we actually kind of getting into the mainstream?
So I'll give you a number that's obvious once I give it to you, but it's shocking when you think about it. There were, depending on the year, 15 to 17 million new cars sold. I'm using U.S. numbers just because it's easier to, people are probably more familiar with that in your audience. And 15 to 17 million new cars on a install base of about 250 million. Now that doesn't count the fleet vehicles. That's just the kind of cars that you and I drive. So if every car tomorrow were sold as electric, it's somewhere between 15 and 16 years to turn over that fleet. You simply divide 250 million by 15 or 17 million, and lo and behold, you get somewhere between 15 and 16. Now, obviously, now we're not at 100% sales rate of EVs, but later you might retire gas cars earlier at the back end of this, because of the residual value will be in question of the vehicle. So things might start early retiring. But this is at least a 20-year phenomenon. It's at least a 20-year phenomenon to change out everything substantively. So this, I think, expectation that suddenly we're all going to wake up and look outside and the entire universe is going to be electric is just not practical, because of the cost structure associated with vehicles relative to how much a normal person, makes. It's not a discretionary purchase. With that said, the things that drive the adoption are the availability of makes and models that people want. Half the cars in the United States are trucks and SUVs. Now, we've seen an amazing set of announcements associated with pickup trucks recently, right? You just had the GMC Hummer, you've got the Rivian coming, you've got
Ford F-150.
Ford F-150, the most popular truck in America, right? Electrifying. As those things electrify, as more SUVs electrify, that'll unlock that roughly half of the U.S. or more, and you've already got some good entrance into that segment on the SUV side with the Tesla Model Y and others, Hyundai Kona, lots of good options there. But it's not one size fits all for automobiles, because the consumer has to like everything from the amenities in the car, the price point of the car, the body styling of the car, all that stuff. And so we just need more makes and models to fill the matrix in to get that percent penetration up. And let's not leave out price. Not everyone can afford a mid to high end vehicle. And so as things move down in price with batteries, and you're seeing all the announcements associated with that, I think you'll unlock more and more of this market, and it'll start to adopt pretty quickly.
Okay, so early phases still. So what do you think we need to accelerate adoption more for EVs in the US? Is it, you mentioned better makes and models, but what else?
It's mostly makes and models, and I think in general, whenever the analogy I use is, when the iPhone was introduced, there were a lot of reviews of the iPhone that criticized the fact that it didn't have a tiny little plastic keyboard like phones that of the time had. And there was a lot of controversy because people were so used to those. There was this thinking that no one would make the transition. And then when suddenly everyone realized having the internet in your pocket on a bigger screen because you gave up the keyboard, you had something really special, they just moved over quickly. And that was one of education and experience. And I think the nice part about EV drivers is they're very proud that they've taken the plunge because of what it says about their support of the environment, the new technology, et cetera. They're evangelists, so to speak. When you're at work and when we eventually all get back to work and we're going out to lunch with a colleague and they just bought an electric vehicle, that built-in test drive, that built-in experience in your family, et cetera, I think that's just going to permeate our society and very quickly get people past the normal, I think, reservations about something that's just different than has been enforced for 100 years. What I will say is that when people buy an electric vehicle, they think that they're going to worry about charging, and then they realize that they stop worrying about fueling because it's a top-up model, and so it's not about driving until the little yellow light's on and then going to get, reloaded, with your battery. So as a result, it's eliminating a chore, but they don't realize that up front, and that will become more apparent as people experience other people that have purchased EVs.
Yeah, a new experience. All right. Thank you so much, Pasquale. You just heard from Pasquale Romano, the CEO of ChargePoint. I'm Katie Fehrenbacher. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Katie.